La 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 la. La 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 la.
Hi.
How are you?
Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Oh my God, look who it is.
Been a while. How you doing, Paul?
The legend himself.
Hi, can you hear me?
I'm supposed to ask 3 questions, is that right?
Look at you. Glasses, beard, long hair. Hey, how are
I
you?
know. Oh, my people.
So Wes, you have a recording studio. Look at you.
Hi. A little setup. I'm between houses right now, so I'm in a duplex, and I've got a little room with a little Neve 54 and some other synthesizers and things. But this is usually I work in a bigger space. But I see you're in your studio also.
Yeah, I fell in love with. I became a gear slut, which is terrible.
Me too. Me too. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you. I was watching some of the other interviews that you've done, and but first of all, so nice to meet you, and so nice to get to do this. So thanks for having me. But I was going to ask you about summing and consoles and preamps and all.
Let's go for all of it. Why not? Let's go for all of it. You're a legend, and I sent a 4-string instrument out to a legend the other. What happened with that thing?
I'm using it on tour. It's fantastic. You actually made me one. This guy,
A long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago, which got modified, and I ended up putting like a bass pickup in it. And but this is, I mean, I use this on many records, and this has been this was like basically like the first level of this guitar. It's like the third level of this guitar. But then the one that you recently sent me was like the end all be all with the Kaler tremolo and the 2 guitar pickups and the bass pickup and 2 outputs. I don't have that one here with me because it's currently in transit to for tour, but I've been using it on stage, and it's a fantastic instrument. I love it so much. It's probably the most interesting thing I've ever gotten to play.
Really?
So thank you.
You're welcome. I just do what you ask. I mean, literally, you say what you want, and we make it. It's so idiosyncratically you. That the idea that we would know how to do it better is nuts. I mean, I know how to put the truss rod in and all the other stuff, but that's your baby. That's your little area of grass nobody trods on. I
guess not. But I was also going to ask you, as such a amazing titan of a guitar company, and you're so loved across so many genres. I mean, people. The first time I ever saw PRS, I was probably 21 years old, and it was like Larry Lalonde from Primus playing one, and I was just like, "What is that guitar?" It's like perfect looking, you know. It's like such a great hybrid. And I was just going to say, like, it's so nice that you still work with artists to try to bring their ideas to life too, because you don't have to, and you do.
No, we do have to.
You think so?
Yeah, because it's a symbiotic relationship, Wes.
Sure.
If you guys aren't playing them, I'm not selling them, and if I'm not making them, you're not getting the tool you need. It's symbiotic.
Yeah.
It's like I'm the dog in the house. You need a dog. Symbiotic relationship.
Well, that's a mild way of putting it, I guess. But
they're family members. They're family members.
Great. They're just great guitars. Yeah.
I started making guitars for this really famous rock star, and he started calling me constantly, and I couldn't understand why until I realized that I was his doctor. You know, I was making him the guitars he needed to do his job.
Yeah.
He literally had his hands around this thing that we had made every night to make his living. It was a big deal.
Amazing.
I don't know. When we got to make that last instrument, I just started beaming that you were still doing it, and you were still killing it, and you still wanted the stuff. And, you know, this music thing is well-trodden grass, and you had found your own space, and that was not easy to do. And I thought the tracks that I heard, you know, in the early Limp Bizkit days were just brilliant, and now you're playing with Danny Elfman. Give me a break. I mean, how do you do that?
Well, I mean, that was crazy. That was insanity to get the call from because he did a new record over the quarantine days called Big Mess, and Robin Fink from Nine Inch Nails played on that record. And one night I was just sitting at home watching something on the tube, and my phone lights up and it's Robin Fink's number, and he goes, "Hey, are you in LA?" And I went, "Yes." And he goes, "You're the first person I thought of. I can't play Coachella with Danny Elfman. You're the first person I thought of to replace me. Can you do it?" And I went, 100% yes, I can do it. And it was so much work, and the songs are so sort of non-linear, and the weird time signatures, and they're just all over the place. But I got to work with Stu Brooks and Neely Broche and Josh Freese, and it was just sort of probably the most challenging highlight of my career thus far. It was a lot to swallow, and to play Oingo Boingo stuff, and I got to play The Simpsons, and just to be around that kind of person and to absorb as much as I could. I love feeling like the dumbest person in the room. It makes me so happy to be just, to be learning constantly and to be around people that I can absorb information from. So it was great.
Were you able to grasp the time signature changes and all that stuff? I mean, somebody that's used to playing, 3/4 and 4/4 and 6/8, having to play in all these odd time signatures is not the easiest transition on the planet.
No, I mean, I've been writing in like 7, and like I love 7. It's such like an aggressive time signature, and a lot of the stuff he does is in 7 and 5. Yeah. And one of my favorite bands of all time is the Jesus Lizard, and Dwayne Dennison, the guitar player for the Jesus Lizard, writes in 7 all the time. And it's such like we're playing in 7 aggressively, it just feels like it's going, and now, and I'm gonna get you. And it's like, I mean, because it's like jumping forward it feels like you're jumping forward every measure. And yeah, I love stuff like that.
Oh, so then it was made for you. That's great. Well, then your friend made the right phone call. That's great.
He sure did. And I'm very grateful to him for that.
Are you touring now?
About to go on. We just got off tour, and we're about to do a European tour. And then we're going to do another US tour, I think, in the fall for Bizkit. And it's funny, everyone's just getting back out there and going for it. Everyone I know, all my friends are all on tour. Everybody's just like, and playing every show they can. Buses are short. People can't book tour buses because they're all gone. Everybody's out at the same time. But I think that everyone's just so happy to be back doing this again, and just pushing through. And I've had COVID 2 times and I'm vaccinated and boosted. So hopefully, we're good now, and nobody's we had like, a scare on tour, but it turned out they just had the flu. So not a big deal.
Where do you live, Wes?
I'm in Los Angeles, in Echo Park right now.
I have a lot
currently looking for a house.
How close is that to North Hollywood?
It's probably 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
From North Hollywood.
A lot of friends in North Hollywood. All the guys that build studios, big studios in LA are friends of mine. So I'm friends with all the techs.
Yeah.
You live in a very interesting town. Oh my God.
Yeah, I've been here for 20 years, I guess. I've lived in LA for 20 years. I lived in Laurel Canyon for a while.
Yeah.
And all musicians all around me there. I'm actually looking at houses in Laurel Canyon right now, because I moved away and moved to Detroit for 2 years and then came back to LA. They sucked me back in. They pulled me back in.
Well, why don't you ask me about the mixed bus stuff? Why don't you go for it?
Oh, okay.
Why don't you ask me, because the guy that built this gear is the same guy that built Doug Sax's place and Bill Schnee's place. So I know
Okay.
a little about it because Josh Florian's my friend. You should know Josh Florian. Whoever
I
you meet,
don't know him.
huh?
I don't know him. I don't know
He
him.
builds mastering studios and recording studios for a living, and he lives in it, North Hollywood, and he's really something. But so,
Oh, I would love to meet him.
yeah.
I did have, before I ask that, I have one question. So as an amazing builder of instruments, I wanted to ask you, what do you think when you, if you're at NAMM or online or whatever, when you see guitars that look like this?
Depends on the guitar.
That are just like wild, like a third grader's imagination just built that.
That doesn't look that instrument. I like things that are more down the middle that are usable.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not. That's very outside. There was a guitar that was in the Synchronicity video that was made in Israel that was bars of metal. Did you ever see that guitar?
Yeah, there were bars of metal as frets.
Right.
Yeah,
frets,
I've
right.
seen that guitar. It's really,
That thing was that thing was outside, and then there's recently been a cover, the Animals as Leaders.
Oh, sure.
And he's been doing a whole bunch of very interesting instruments. It depends on the instrument. It depends on whether you can play music on it. You're a musician, and you're a gifted musician and a creative person. For me, I'm trying to make something that you could make music on. I don't want it to be weird just for the sake of weird. I want it to be some useful tool.
Sure.
I recently got a very useful tool here in the studio, and I'm going to end up using it. I got the same device that Alex Van Halen used to use to make drum sounds, and on the Hot for Teacher and Jump and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
I found the drum synthesizers that they used to use on the Thrack tour, King Crimson stuff. I can't wait to try to mix them with real stuff. It's not too outside. It's just enough that it will give another flavor, right? So I want it to be an instrument that gives another flavor. That 4-string thing you had us do, all these new pickups, is something that gives you a flavor nobody else has. And it's a real musical instrument by its term, musical. To me, it's about music. And so when I see that, I can't imagine it's going to be so easy to make good music with the thing that you picked up. I don't want to insult the maker. I'm not trying to.
No, not at all. I saw it online and just went like, this is the most wild thing I've ever, like, just the most pushing it.
What if it made sounds that you couldn't get any other way? Wouldn't it be worth trying?
It would. Yes, absolutely. I think that for me, the reason that the 4-string happened was a bunch of moments of necessity. Like, I needed to, I just sort of was experimenting with a 6-string, and then I down-tuned the E string to A, and to I'm a huge Robert Smith from The Cure fan, and the first time I ever picked up a bass 6 was because of him. Disintegration album and all the stuff that he did in higher register. But I wanted to play that was one reason I really liked the low register of that instrument, because it's tuned F sharp, B, E with a bass F sharp, but it's AADG, but we tune it down even further. But I do have 2 different tunings of the guitar for different projects. Especially the one that's where I am actively splitting out to a bass amp and a guitar amp, and have 2 pedal boards. I'm tuned to A because I'm kind of taking over like a bass part, and there's for a project I did called Eat the Day, where I'm playing guitar and bass at the same time and sort of covering that territory, which is was an interesting sound, and it was hard for people to know exactly what I was doing. But I wanted to be able to have 2 strings together that were an octave apart, to have very quick transitions and be able to play single note parts between those 2 strings that were very quick and interesting to me. And then as I went on, I noticed that I wasn't playing the 2 the highest strings, the high B and E. So I lost them, got them off the guitar, and then I went, I want these strings to be further apart. And then that happened, and it just, the instrument just sort of developed over a long period of time. And then the necessity to cover, I was in that band I was talking about, the project, I was in a trio with my brother, who is a bass player and a guitar player, but I wanted him to play guitar more like lead guitar. So I was like, I can cover the bass in this way. So I dropped the pickup into the 4-string after I'd been using it for years. So it was just, I guess the necessity of having to do all these things made it was what I needed, is what made that instrument what it was.
That's really smart. Have you ever taken a normal guitar and tuned it C to C?
Like standard?
Yeah.
Or just all? Bizkit, we tune C sharp to C sharp is our sort of standard tuning.
Oh, so you do it. So
yeah.
I got fried on the internet for making Mark Tremonti these C to C and B to B guitars. And because, well, you got to make the scale length longer, and you got to do this, and you got to do that, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. And we made these B to B baritones in a normal scale. And everybody was, literally reading me the riot act a bit that we didn't know what we were doing. And I called Mark. I said, "Are you having any trouble?" He says, "No, things sounds unbelievable."
Yeah.
So I'm at the Vintage Guitar Show, and the guitar is tuned B to B. And this one kid is looking at his friend and says, "You got to try this." He goes, I don't know. I don't think I want to. You better try it. I don't want to. I ripped the guitar out of his hands, plugged it into the amp, and started to play a bunch of stuff, and it was tuned B to B,
mm-hmm.
which is a minor third below what you're talking about, right?
Right.
And no, a whole step below you, right? B, the whole step.
We actually do drop B on.
Okay, so all right, B to B with an A on the low E. Okay, all right, fair enough, same thing.
Yeah.
And it literally sounded so cool. A crowd of people instantly gathers in the aisles in the Dallas Guitar Show. And the one kid looks at the other kid as, if you don't buy that guitar, I'm going to kill you. Because it sounded so good. Now, you're talking about the same kind of thing. I remember I had to make a guitar for Motley Crue once, and I get a note from Mick Mars. He says, tune it D to D with a set of 10s. And I did it, and I played a chord that sounded like Mick. I was like, that's cool. I mean, all this stuff you're talking about has a signature sound to it. And
it does. Sorry, go ahead.
No, we're good. We're on the same page.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say that we tune C sharp to C sharp, but I use pretty light strings for that tuning, and I use a standard scale. The key that I found is using a locking tremolo system, like a Floyd Rose system. And balancing lighter strings with a lower tuning and adjusting the springs in the back so that you can use lower strings, and man, it's snappy. Like you don't have these over cumbersome piano gauge strings on your guitar and you can use normal. I use 11 to 52s with a wound 22 as the G, but I tune, C sharp to C sharp. And as long as you are not, for me, it's the Floyd Rose. Just that's been my thing for so long, and I use it for riffs and more. I use it more like a trumpet, so that I've got this push and pull, this like snappy push and pull. But lighter gauge strings are great tuned down. I
agree with you. You have to be careful about your intonation, but I completely agree. There is an acoustic with medium gauge strings in my office right now, tuned G to G.
Wow. Yeah.
And it sounds outrageous. And
I'm sure.
The reason I did it is my niece was capoing up 3 frets, and the guitar was too high in pitch. It was fighting her voice. So I said, let's tune it down instead of up. And she goes, you can't do that. I said, of course you can. And we tuned it G to G, and I'm telling you, the guitar sounded ridiculous. Now, medium gauge strings to G are light gauge strings in that tune.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about, now I understand why you're doing the 4-string thing. I never understood it. I just thought it was cool. Now I understand. Well, thanks for explaining it. Not just to me, but you just explained it to the whole internet.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, it just allows you to, I also, for me, this will sound weird, or maybe not weird. For me, whenever I do something, I like to put parameters on myself, because I feel like that, like, when you don't have all the options, when you only have a few options, creativity blooms. And I feel like having less strings to work with, for me, or having some sort of like when I do a solo record, I usually will put limits on myself. Like, I can't use distortion. I can't can't use a real drummer. I've got to figure out all the drums myself. I got to mix it myself. Like, I'll put things that I have to do. But my first record under my name as a solo artist was called Crystal Machete. I put that out in 2016. And the main rule for that was you can't use distorted guitar, and you can't have any vocals that aren't processed through some sort of vocoder, or have to be, you can't have a normal vocal on the record. So having those two things as parameters made me have to figure out all these other ways to get where I needed to go without having tools in my pocket that were familiar to me, I guess. Taking away some, like tying one arm behind your back. There's an artist.
Did you sing all the tunes in the vocoder?
Yeah, or I used the Apple like simple text with the speech thing, and I would pick a voice and I would type all the lyrics out, and then I would stretch and change the voice of just Apple simple text when you hit like Victoria high quality, and it like reads whatever you've written. I would just basically export an audio file of that, and then tune it and change it and process it so that it became the vocal on the song in some way.
How did it do?
I mean, everybody loved the record. It's probably the best reviewed thing that I've ever done personally. So, but I have a bunch of different side projects outside of Limp Bizkit, Black Light Burns, Big Dumb Face, which is like a joke kindergarten death metal band. Another thing that I've been doing for years called Goat Slayer with a couple of friends of mine. We have like 23 albums of just nonsense that we'll probably never put out. We put out one. But yeah, I love recording. I love trying new things. I love limitations. I love, giving myself handicaps or some sort of problem that I need to solve. It makes everything more interesting. Because I've known guys who've like gone hours and like, no, we need to try this microphone or this microphone or this microphone, or let's try every single different sound that we can get. And it's like, nah, just let's go. Just that's good enough. Let's do it.
I like your attitude. You and I have never had food together. We've never remotely been making these 4-string things for you. And you know something? What you just said is fascinating to me. It's kind of in the garden next to mine. It's not in my garden. I do it a little different than you do it. But I'll just pick a mic and go. I don't want to try 40 mics. I don't want to do it. I just if it's not working, change it. Otherwise, don't touch it. I mean,
sure.
I understand. But I have one guitar amp mic I use over and over and over again. It just works every single time I put it up. It just works.
What is it?
An old M7 with the present switch on. And what's very interesting is after all that work, find that mic, I watched the Queen movie, and that's what's on Brian May's amp.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to turn the present switch on. The present switch, when you turn it on, turns the EQ off. There's no battery in an SM7, so the switch isn't adding anything. It's only taking away in the wrong
right.
place.
Interesting. I'm going to try that.
It's a wonderful microphone. 7B is just as good. Just turn the switches off and get out of the way. They're great mics.
Yeah, I really love Roy.
Nick of Time was sang on a SM7. Bonnie Raitt's greatest record was sang
really
on all Warren Haynes' stuff, all the Chili Peppers stuff, Beat It, all that stuff. They're the best guitar mics I've ever heard. I got lots of them.
Okay, I only have one, and I don't use it often, but I will.
Is it
I will
go
pull
where
it out.
there's a switch in the back? Which positions is it in?
I have to. That mic's in storage right now. I have like my Royers and my. I've got these Steve Albini mics called Josephsons that are great.
Yeah.
That his like signature mic from them. But yeah, I'll get when I move, and I'm going to be moving soon. I'll get a bunch of my gear out of storage, and I will pull my SM7 out.
Push the presence switch on. When the presence
Presence
switch is off, it's taking high mid-range away. It's backwards. There's no battery. You can't add anything. You can only take away. So you took both switches in the not take away position, and it's got on a stick.
Awesome. I will try it.
You ever hear Bonnie Raitt's Nick of Time? Did you think it sounded good?
I haven't heard it in a long time. I will.
The vocal is spectacular.
Yeah.
Some of her best singing. All right, I'll just shut up now.
No, I love talking gear. It's so fun. Love it.
A very different way of thinking, which I really like. But then again, every time I heard music out of you, it was a different way of thinking. So it doesn't surprise me at all, Wes.
Well, I just love. I've always loved recording since I was a kid. My brother and I would record. I still have. I don't really throw a lot away. I think I'm a pack rat, but my mom's called me a hoarder before. But I don't like getting rid of gear. I don't like. I have probably every audio tape I've ever recorded from being a kid till now that I still use on records. I've got all my 4-track recordings. I would constantly record people and talk to people. I used to carry around a mini cassette recorder and record conversations that, I mean, people knew I'm not being creepy. People knew I was recording them. But I just have always loved audio and loved taking little audio snapshots of different times in my life and keeping them and using them and cataloging them. I carry around like a Zoom, like stereo with the, recorder with me all the time. And we'll just walk around cities and record different stuff and use it and manipulate it later. I've been using Pro Tools for so long as sort of like an instrument to where I'm actually like do a lot of audio chopping and try to make new sounds, doing treated piano. It's funny, I was never really into guitar players that much as a kid. I really like drummers and bass players, and my parents told me I couldn't get a drum kit, so I bought like grew up in Nashville, and I bought this really cheap double humbucker Telecaster style guitar and a little Gorilla amp from a pawn shop after dragging my dad's lawnmower around the neighborhood and mowing lawns. And I started when I was 12. And they were like, that's loud enough. Okay, that's at least it's not a drum kit. So yeah.
You don't think like any Nashville person I ever met. Now that we need a glass of wine to go over that comment.
Okay. Well, I mean, I left when I was 15. I lived in Nashville like 8 to 15. Yeah, but I did. I mean, I went to.
The way you're talking about recording is not Nashville. They have their own way, and it works really well. But I like what you're saying. I think it's fascinating. Look, you're in the D.C. area. The best seafood place in the state is next to my house. I'll take it.
Oh, fantastic. I would love to.
Shrimp, and I'll show you my studio. I now have a mic collection that I really like.
Oh, fantastic. I would love to see it.
I'll tell you what. I'll show you a mic that nobody knows exists. Can I just show you real quick?
Yeah, please.
Take me 1 second. Hold on. I got to pull it out of the mic closet. Hold on.
Go for it.
I'm going to show you something you've never seen. You ever seen one of these?
No.
You ever hear Looney Tunes? You ever hear Mel Blanc?
Sure.
You ever hear Donald Duck?
That's the Donald Duck.
That's what it was all recorded on.
Wow.
You ready for this one?
Yeah.
The first line in Born to Be Wild, get your motor running, that's one of these.
Yeah.
You can hear every syllable he sang in that tune.
Gorgeous.
There was one thing that Mel Blanc did that you couldn't hear, and that's because of this. They're available.
Wow.
You've never seen one of these.
No, I haven't. Look at that capsule. It's a Neumann.
This is a Neumann measurement mic for an anechoic chamber, so that you get it's dead flat. In their orchestra mics, they put a round ball over the M50 head so that it was directional on the high end and not directional on the low end. I made this ball to put on top of it.
Amazing.
It sounds ridiculous.
Well, I mean, what does it sound like? What can you compare it to?
Your ear.
Okay, so what
It sounds like your ear.
Yeah,
your ear. It has. I mean, basically, it's a small version of your head.
Yeah.
It sounds like your ear. I swear to God, Wes, it's you. You might not like to try mics, but you might try all these.
Oh no, I like to try. I love trying mics. I think they're so weird.
Isn't that cool?
So, yeah, amazing.
You ever seen one?
I mean, no, I've never seen that before.
So this is a U47 body.
Is it like the Neumann head?
Yeah, but that didn't work. This works. This is what I found this in Italy. I can't believe I got my hands on it. I can't wait to use it for drum overheads.
How special.
It's an ear. It sounds like whatever it is. Put it up next to the Leslie and shut up.
Yeah,
Play guitar through a good Leslie?
I have, yeah.
They're fun, right?
Fun. Yeah, I did it with we had one when we did our first record with Ross Robinson, the producer, up at Indigo Ranch in Malibu, California, which has since burned down. Unfortunately,
I had that mic closet.
Oh yeah, Ross got some of those mics. Yeah.
Well, if he wants to sell them, tell him to call me.
I will.
We're gonna have to go, Wes. Look, you were invited to my home. You're invited to eat food here. If you're in the Washington D.C. area, let Bev know, and I will tackle you.
I would love that. Thank you so much. What a generous offer. Great chatting with you, Paul.
Fun, huh?
Yeah.
That was
great.
fun. Thanks for being on. I appreciate it.